Hello YouTube, it is currently Friday, August 5th, 2025, about 7:32 p.m. So, this coffee might need some more creamer before I get started. That'll be fine. So, today I woke up at some point. No, actually I didn't go to bed, I stayed up all night because that's what I've been doing. But I waited until about 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock to, no, I think I left at like 6. I'm sorry to get all the time frames and whatever, nobody actually cares. But I went across town and I collected groceries. And so I got coffee creamer, International Delight, French vanilla. I got an 80 pack of meatballs, and I got 5 packs of pasta of the generic brand, and 2 jugs of ragu, because ragu was cheaper. I thought about buying a pack of cigarettes there, having an actual pack of cigarettes, and then I think it was cheaper there than the gas station. But I said no. No, I need to reserve that money because I have just enough left to go back to the store and do one more trip and get 2 more jugs of sauce, 5 more packs of pasta, and a pack of meatballs. Maybe I have enough. So that sent me back about $37 or something like that. I don't remember, I have the receipt, but I'm not going to go get it. And so that's what I'm going to live off of until it runs out. So right now I'm rationing, so it's half a pack of spaghetti and 8 meatballs per day. So 1 bowl of spaghetti and that's it. And I came home, I made a bowl, and then I went to bed. And a couple hours later, in the afternoon, someone's tapping at my door, right? And this is probably more important. So, I wake up, I come to, realize someone's knocking at my door. Well, somebody's sticking a key in the lock and turning the door, Now, I know it was family on the other side of that door, but, I don't want them in here either, And I'm trying to ask myself, is it because I'm ashamed of myself, that I'm not dressed, that I don't have this place put together, it's a sty, I don't know if it's shame or if it's something else. I haven't fully figured it out yet. But, they crack the door open, but the door won't open all the way because I put the deadbolt on, And I've only been putting the deadbolt on to keep out family. Not to keep out burglars or crooks or, serial killers or, rapists or whatever. It's only to keep out family and maybe the landlord. So, my aunt's at the door, and she's trying to make sure that I'm okay. And so I'm just like sitting here, just like, what do I do? I mean, maybe a normal person, throw on some clothes and go answer the door, right? But I didn't feel like doing that. I didn't want to answer the door. I didn't want to talk to people. Just like, well, it doesn't matter what you want. Yeah, ain't that the fucking thing, you know? I'm just a hermit, you know? Anyway, so I didn't answer, and I can hear her on the phone, and I don't know who the fuck she's talking to, but I'm concerned, because, I don't want, a bunch of doctor-type people to come up here, landlord, well, they would have to use a chain cutter to cut the chain. I don't want that. That's too excessive. Then they come in here, and they do a wellness check. Basically, that's what I was afraid of, Because, am I well? I don't know. I mean, it's a hard question to answer because, I'm sane. I can hold coherent sentences, I'm free from drugs, currently. This coffee needs more creamer, so I'll have to put some more in after. I shouldn't be chain smoking, but apparently I'm stressed. So, I answered the door, She's on the phone, and, I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to go over there and tell her I'm fine just to make her go away. But I knew that if I told her I was fine, then she wouldn't go away, So I just sort of waited, I was hoping that she would just, give up and go away. She didn't give up and go away for a little bit, though. Quote-unquote desperately wants to see me. Wants to make sure I'm okay. And I'm just like, I have never been okay. I've only done a really good job of acting like I was okay, every family function, every family meeting, every dinner, showing up to work, I was never okay. Never, Like, I have so many journal entries that go back, and they're just like personal thoughts about how, empty and cold the world is, and, I used to, watch a lot of anime once upon a time. Because, anime and, Disney movies. Because they always made me feel something, I want to tell you about one of my favorite scenes from this old movie that nobody knows about. It's called Oliver and Company, right? And this may sound gay or whatever, but whatever, I'm just going to say it anyway. So there's this little orange cat named Oliver, right? And Oliver the cat was in a box with a bunch of other cats, and they were being sold to different owners. So one by one, all the other cats were picked, and Oliver was the only cat that was not picked. And so Oliver was just left in the box. Then it started raining, and then, the box broke, and Oliver almost fell into the sewers, and, it was a miserable, cold night. Got chased by dogs, and, eventually Oliver the cat found Dodger the dog, right? And Dodger the dog was not the dog that was chasing Oliver, He formed a pact with Oliver to, work together to steal some sausages from this vendor. So, you know, after they steal the sausages, Dodger's just like, these are my sausages, go get your own. So Oliver chases them all across the city. Dodger finally gets back to his home where there's a bunch of other, homeless dogs. And he, brings in sausages to feed the homeless dogs. But Oliver had tailed him all the way there, And so eventually Oliver gets incorporated into the group, of wild dogs. And so one of my favorite scenes in that movie was when Oliver got up. They were all sleeping together in this room, and Oliver the cat, he got up, he went across the room, and then he snuggled into Dodger. And Dodger, he like nuzzled into him, and he had like his arms and his legs wrapped around him, and I thought it was the most adorable thing, like one of the heart warming moments, and this was when I was a young kid, maybe a teenager, but I still like it a lot. That one particular scene. I mean, I like the entire movie, but that one particular scene was my favorite. I don't know why I brought this up. Anyway, so my aunt's at the door, demanding that I open the door, that I be seen or whatever. Talking on the phone, and there was a sharp knock on the door, rap, 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 and then it was just like, what was it? Health check or something like that, and that jumped me to attention. It was a man's voice, and it was a bit disguised, so I didn't recognize who it was immediately, and it was actually my father. And I have to give him kudos, because that was pretty smart. If you want to make sure that that somebody's okay, just like shout, health check. Because I didn't want somebody to come in here and someone to force me into some sort of ambulance and bring me to some sort of psych hospital. Plug me with needles and give me medication and dope me up and, call it a day, Because in my career, I had to work in different psych hospitals. In a psych hospital, the McLean, I don't know, the McLean Center or something like that. And I was working as an electrician there, and we were changing all the lights, So I got to go in all of the rooms and see how it works, really. And I think it's silly, just the concept of it. We're just going to take these people and we're going to, quote unquote hospitalize them, well, if that's what you want to call it, hold them against their, keep them prisoner in this place, and, everything is barred, off. All the lights, you have to have a special screwdriver to open them, everything's inaccessible, And so, you go there, you draw pictures, you talk to the other people that are also not well in the head, I don't know. It just seems stupid, the entire concept of it. I I don't need to go to some psych hospital just to go there and say, hey, the entire world's fucked, you know? And this is just a sane response to an insane world, you know? Because truth be told, you know, a while back, you know, because I've been pretty much more or less the same, you know, this has been my baseline. And, you know, so I went to go get a mental health check at one point, you know, because the school required me to go get one because, you know, concerning emails, you know, suicidal ideation. So I, you know, scheduled a mental health check, and I went to go to the thing, you know, and some guy greeted me, and I was like friendly and nice with him, and we chatted for a bit, and he more or less determined that I'm fine, you know. I don't meet the standard of criteria for getting admitted, you know. I'm not an immediate threat to myself or anybody else, you know, can speak in tangible, concrete sentences, you know. I might even be considered smart in some cases. Now, I would like to say that I do feel kind of bad for just ignoring my aunt, you know. She said some stuff like, you know, your grandma's worried about you, and, well, I'm sorry, I'm worried about me. What do you want me to do about it, you know? Just like miraculously, you know, find some reason to live, you know? I mean, if anything, after that, you know, it just like made me realize that I need to probably accelerate, you know. Either I need to find that magic solution, or I need to end everything, you know? Because I've already spent a lot of time, you know, distancing myself from, you know, everybody, you know. And I suppose in the back of my mind, you know, the hope was, if and when I'm gone, you know, it'll have less of a dramatic impact because, you know, I was already missing, you know. I wasn't, like, integrated into their lives, really, you know. But, she asked some questions about, you know, did they do something wrong? Do I hate them? And I got a bit annoyed because it was just like, this isn't about you. This isn't about you. Why are you trying to make this about you? And this is the thought that I had, you know. And it's just like, should I feel bad for, like, you know, feeling that way? I don't know. There's no guidebook, you know. And so I had asked them to go away. They said that they wouldn't. And I was far away from the door, so I didn't really pick up everything that was being said, nor did I really care all that much that was being said, because it's just like, what can you say, you know? She said that I needed help, and it was just like, well, I mean, I didn't say it to her, but I've already tried that, you know, and that didn't work, you know. Eventually she left, and then I went back to bed. And I do feel, you know, bad that I'm affecting other people, but I don't think it's fair, you know, because I never asked to be born in the first place, you know, into this miserable, wretched world, you know. And I've tried harder than anybody, you know. Anybody that I know, anyway. And shit just didn't work out. You know, and then I was thinking, you know, I was like horribly abused as a kid, you know, just like, oh, you're an adult now, get over it. Yeah, I hear you. But I didn't have any agency as a kid, you know. I had to be supervised while using the bathroom, you know, had to a night vision camera in the bedroom that watched us. The windows were barred, wore the same clothes every day, wasn't allowed to take showers. The point is, you know, I didn't have agency as a kid, you know. I wasn't allowed to make my own decisions or whatever. You know, and it's just like, more or less my entire life, I haven't been able to live for myself. It's always been for somebody else, you know. And this latest thing, it's just like, oh, you're worried? You know? Just like, is this a normalized response that I would expect? Sure. I'll grant you that, you know? But at the same time, you know, what do you want me to do? Live for you? Just like, I get that you guys are worried, but what do you want me to do about it? Snap back? Bounce back? Just, I don't know. What would I do that was different? I mean, if it was me, you know, I wouldn't make it a personal attack or anything, you know. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm here for you, you know, if you need me. Don't hesitate, you know, when you're ready, you know. I wouldn't try to force myself in, you know, I wouldn't try to be aggressive about it. Like, I would like to say that they don't care for the right reasons, but it's hard to, you know, say that, you know, kind of makes me feel like I'm just like this selfish person or whatever. I mean, I've tried it in the past, you know, but, you know, every time I get into tough talks, they just like look at me like I have two heads, you know. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is just because we have blood ties doesn't mean, you know, that means a whole lot, which is extremely harsh, I understand. But, you know, if nobody was there before, you know, all of a sudden, just like, I mean, there's shit asked me if I hated them. It's just like, you know, in my mind, I thought, you know, she's trying to bait you to engage, you know. She's trying to get you to talk, you know. So don't say anything, you know. Don't play into it. still, you know, I don't know what's expected, you know. Well, it's not that I don't, well, that all aside, I do need to figure something out, you know. And I'm still playing with the idea of just abandoning society and, like, trying to go somewhere where nobody else is and just living there, you know. Maybe find a herd of gorillas to, like, live with, or go live with lion prides, or, you know, cheetahs or jaguars or wolves or something, you know. It's hard for me to, like, explain. It's not that I hate them, it's just, I mean, that would require having strong feelings about that, you know. And I guess that I'm just at this stage where I'm pretty apathetic about everything, really, you know. I don't really care, you know. And I'm trying to find a reason to care, you know. Honestly, I spend a lot of time trying to figure out why the fuck I'm still alive, you know. You know, what am I holding out for? Why? What do I want? You know, the question came to me, and it's just like, am I just doing this for attention? You know? And I don't think so. I don't think so. You know? But just went out and scrounged some cigarettes out of the smoker's booth again, you know. So got lucky and found some. Have some coffee. I guess simple pleasures, I guess. Because I don't want to needlessly suffer, you know? Just like, well, you don't deserve coffee, you don't deserve cigarettes, you don't deserve anything, you don't deserve to live, you know, is what keeps backlashing on me. You know, you don't contribute to society, you don't. And, you know, a lot of people say things like, oh, you matter. Just like, yeah, sure. You know, maybe something like, oh, the world would be a darker place without you in it. Just like, okay. You know, the world will keep turning. I'm as insignificant as that cute little mouse over there. Or, you know, the bugs in my apartment. However, I did, after I came home from the store, I pulled out my tarot deck, and, well, even before that, while I was walking to the store, you know, I had asked God for a message. I was just like, alright, God, what do you want me to do? You know, I want to align myself with you, you know. And there was a truck, and it says, work your dream job. I was just like, my dream job? What the fuck does that mean? And then, you know, after I came home, I went through my tarot deck, and, you know, I asked God again. I was just like, alright, dude, I need a sign. Please tell me what you want. You know? And finally, the Wheel of Fortune popped out. You know, a single card just jumped out of the deck. So, I would like to believe that, you know, something's about to change, but I don't know what it is yet. Anyway, that's it for this one. Later.